Do you know what I mean?
Right. Do you know what I mean? No, we don't know what you mean. You actually sound like Brad there when Brad said, I just come out of a festival. Yeah, he only tells the truth. He doesn't lie about things. Yeah, he doesn't lie. Yeah, not Josh, not the guy that I just met on the plane only 2 days ago. Yeah, no, not him. Yo, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again with part 4 to the Mark Williams Thomas and Jay Slater podcast. If you haven't seen part 1, 2, and 3, then I would suggest you check those out before you watch this one. Now, I have to say, off the back of part 3, it's not looking good for Brandon and Lucy. There are still question marks surrounding Brad and why he wasn't included in that podcast. Nothing from Brad whatsoever, which doesn't make any sense. However, based on what we've heard so far from Brandon and Lucy, they are clearly lying. I understand now why Brandon never spoke to the media, because we more or less heard Brandon's statement via Lucy and via Brad. They both said exactly what Brandon said. We are going to have to go back in another video and revisit what Brandon said and compare it to Ayub's side of the story. What Ayub said happened when Jay left that Airbnb. Ayub's point of view, there's no mention of Jay being on the phone to Brandon. From Brandon's point of view, he was on the phone to Jay inside the Airbnb, even whilst Jay was leaving that Airbnb and walking the wrong way. You can just tell when you listen to Brandon telling Mark Williams Thomas his side of the story, he's just regurgitating information that they made up at the Airbnb. Right now, I'm of the belief that it was Brandon that had the blanket wrapped around him that took that video outside the Airbnb to make it look like it was Jay. And the reason for that is because Brandon was the one that mentioned Jay was filming outside the Airbnb and sent him videos. That's the reason why he called him back, because he was thinking, what is Jay doing? However, the video he is referring to is the video of Jay with the cigarette in his hand and the blanket. He moves to the side, shows you the white car and the green garage, shows you the landscape of the area, then the video drops. Lucy also refers to that same video footage, but she doesn't mention the blanket. She only mentions the cigarette, the white car, and the mountains, but she does not mention the blanket. Why? Why doesn't she mention the blanket? The blanket's obvious. The blanket's questionable. Why would Jay be wrapped up in that blanket? See, I'll tell you the reason why Jay was wrapped up in that blanket, because as we know, Jay was wearing shorts. It was obvious he was wearing shorts. He was also wearing TNs. If the blanket wasn't wrapped up on the person, then you would have been able to see it wasn't Jay. That's why they've wrapped the blanket up around the person and they're focused on the blanket. But Lucy doesn't want to mention the blanket. In fact, let's listen to the conversation between Mark Williams Thomas and Lucy when they're talking about that specific footage. Let's check this.
I want to ask Lucy more about her visit to the rental. She posted on the I Love Tenerife Facebook group on the 17th of June, so the day Jay went missing. Please, can anyone help me with where this location is? My friend was here at 08:50 a.m. this morning after a night out, and his phone is dead. He's got no food or water, and I'm extremely worried. Thanks in advance. Attached to the post is a screenshot of the location drop Jay sent her.
The location that Jay sent her.
I've now spoken with the person that responded to Lucy's post.
That's Lena Patel.
She says she picked Lucy up and took her to the Masca area, and that they were able to identify it from the videos and pictures she had, and also it being the location of the pin drop. She totally believes that Lucy had no prior knowledge of the area.
Cool. That, very, very interesting. What they don't mention is finding the Airbnb. There's no mention there that Lucy and Lena found the Airbnb and spoke to the guys at the Airbnb. If you actually listen to what Mark says there, they didn't find the Airbnb through the videos that Jay posted on his phone. They located the area of Masca through the footage of Jay's phone, and the screenshot ping location matched up to it being in Masca. This is the reason why Lena is not responding to questions like, did you speak to the two men at the Airbnb? Did you find the Airbnb? Remember, Lena never updated us about the Airbnb. She never updated us about speaking to the two men or Lucy speaking to the two men. Her last update was, we went to a police station and it seems that the police at that police station are being more helpful. After that, there was one more update from her, which basically said no more further updates with like a sad emoji next to it. So if at that point they would have found an Airbnb and Lena would have spoken to Ayub or Rocky, she would have mentioned that on the Facebook update, but she never did. Listen to what Mark is saying here. They identified Masca through Jay's footage, not the Airbnb. The screenshot location matched up to Masca. That's how they were able to geolocate Jay's location to Masca. So if at this point the screenshot is a fabrication and that was sent to Lucy specifically to act as if that's the location she needs to get to because that's where her friend was, of course it will be easy to pull the wool over the eyes of Lena Patel and make it look like she's never been to Masca before. And this is the first time of her going to Masca. Lena doesn't know that Lucy was in Masca that morning, but Lucy's going to make it look like she wasn't. And the only location she has to go to in Masca is Jay's pinged location, which means the only location other than the police station that Lena Patel could have taken Lucy to would have been the screenshot location of where Jay's phone last pinged. That's it. And that's the reason why Lena doesn't mention anything about going to an Airbnb and meeting up with two black guys at the Airbnb. She never mentions that. She never updates anyone with that information. Now, why would she not update anyone if she went through that experience? Why? When she's a neutral helping someone look for their missing friends, and at that point, we've got new information, compelling information. We've found the Airbnb that he stayed at. I've spoken to the two guys that he was with. Surely you're going to update the Facebook group on the 17th of June. It's not like someone's going to step in at that point and say, hey, Lena, just to let you know, make sure you do not mention to anyone on that Facebook group that you found the Airbnb and met these two mysterious black men at the Airbnb. Just make sure you don't mention it. If anyone asks you, Lena, just ignore them. In fact, block them. Why is this Lena part so important? Because if Lena did not take Lucy to that Airbnb, and if Lena did not speak to the two black men at the Airbnb, it means Ayub is lying. Because Ayub told us the first person that come knocking at his door by about midday was Lucy. And she was with this American lady. So for that situation not to have happened, but for Ayub to know that information and for Ayub to then add that to his story, it tells you everything you need to know, ladies and gentlemen.
I continue speaking with Lucy, and she tells me that shortly after identifying the rental in Masca, she speaks to a lady in a neighbouring property.
When I first spoke to that woman who lived next door, bearing in mind her brother owns the Airbnb, she said to me...
Hold on. Whoa. One thing I need to understand at this point is, when was these recordings done? What date was these recordings done? There's no timestamp for these recordings. It's not like Mark saying, oh yeah, I spoke to Lucy on the 17th of June and this is what she said. But the reason why this is a massive, massive red flag is because how does Lucy know the woman that struggles to speak English, her brother owns the Airbnb next door? Bearing in mind, her brother owns the Airbnb next door. How does she know that? See, the only problem we have at this point is we don't know when this recording took place. So maybe, just maybe, Lucy could have known at that point of the recording that the Airbnb was owned by her brother. But it's just so weird how she mentioned it. Like, let's just listen to how she just casually says it again.
When I first spoke to that woman who lived next door, bearing in mind her brother owns the Airbnb, she said to me, oh yeah, I saw him at the bus stop and he said he was getting the bus, blah, 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 but never, ever mentioned that she'd seen him walking up the hill. Like, she didn't mention that. I just said, oh, like, what did he say when you speak to him? How did he seem? And then she was like really emphasising, like, because obviously there was the language barrier there, but she was really emphasising like the
language barrier there. So how did you find out that it was her brother who owns the Airbnb?
She was like looking at me and said, you're like doing a marching thing, as if to say he'd left in a hurry. So
she looked at you and done a marching type thing as if to say he left in a hurry. How would anyone know anyone had left in a hurry? How would Aphilia know that Jay is leaving in a hurry? Brisk, walking confidently the wrong way. Bearing in mind, this is a guy that's mixing various different drinks, taking a whole load of different type of narcotics, but he's brisk, walking confidently the wrong way at 7:45 in the morning. And Aphilia shows Lucy clearly a walking sign, but Lucy interprets it as leaving in a hurry. Why? See, if you actually listen to this part of Lucy's audio, it seems like Lucy is the one that's been making it look like Jay feared for his life. Jay was scared. Jay didn't want to be there. Jay left in a hurry. Jay didn't want to go back. The way she describes Jay, and there's something else she's about to say about Jay in a second, clearly is painting a picture of this guy wasn't moving right in his head, that Jay was moving as if someone was out to get him. Now, think about that carefully, ladies and gentlemen, because we're being told about Jay posting a video of him saying he stole a Rolex. Then made a second version and said he stole an AP. But Ayub and everyone else is saying they don't know what he's talking about. The only person that is making it look like Jay was up to no good, or Jay was losing his brain, or Jay wasn't listening, or Jay was in fear for his life is Lucy.
So behind me is the Airbnb where Jay was on the morning that he disappeared, and he was here with 2 black men. I've spoken to the lady that looks after this Airbnb, and she says on that morning she can't speak any English. He said bus, 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 and she said 10 o'clock to him.
Now, she's literally playing a game here. DTR tells us that Aphilia can speak basic English. In fact, she speaks good enough English to be able to give man ice lollies and all of that. He was all promoting her, talking about Aphilia being this lovely woman, X, Y, and Z. Aphilia was involved in playing mind games and putting up a facade because she knew what was going on at the Airbnb. Now, I don't think Aphilia was overly in the know about what was going on with Jay or what happened to Jay, but she definitely got told to play a part. And she got given a certain story. She had to stick to that story. I think when things started to get a bit more serious, she spoke to the master controller and told that person she doesn't want to fully go ahead with everything that's being said because she's fully unsure. And it seemed like there was a lot of people coming around asking questions. So Aphilia clearly wanted to keep her statement short and simple. And this is the reason why she denied seeing Jay the second time. I think Aphilia started to realize how serious this situation was. She was made to believe that she was just telling someone that a guy walked the wrong way. I see him at the bus stop, he asked me for the bus times, and then he walked up the hill. That's what Aphilia was told to say, and that's what she wanted to stick with. It was then later added that she was driving 15 minutes later, and then she saw the guy walking in that direction. Now, Aphilia actually says that in her interview. With her back to camera, she says she was driving 15 minutes later and she see the same guy that asked her for the bus time. But it's so weird how she then said to Mark Williams Thomas almost over a week later, no, that second part, no, that wasn't me. I never see that. I never said that. No, that definitely wasn't me. I never said that. I never see him later. I only see him the once. I see him at the bus stop and at the bus stop only. And I think the reason why she said that to Mark Williams Thomas, who she might have thought was an English police officer, because she realized the situation she was a fake witness for was serious and it was getting closer to home. As well as that, ladies and gentlemen, the agent of the Airbnb has been under a lot of scrutiny. The Airbnb itself has been under a lot of pressure. I think at some point, Aphilia has let the agent know that she is not entirely happy with her part that she's got to play. And she wanted to keep it extremely simple. This is the reason why she said she only see the guy once at the bus stop and then she see him walking up the hill. The second time, no, that wasn't me. But she's saying that later. She's saying that after we've got her on record saying she did see him 15 minutes later. In fact, the inquest documents also say that she was driving to collect her insurance policy when she see Jay at the viewpoint. See, for me, ladies and gentlemen, there's only one way to explain this hiccup, is that at some point, Aphilia didn't want to go as far as they've made her go with her statement. She didn't know a kid was going to be found dead at the end of it. But when she realized that she's potentially an accessory to a cover-up of a murder, she decided that she didn't want any involvement in the case. The statement that was sent to the court was a written statement. We have no way of confirming if Aphilia signed off on saying that that's her written testimony. What we do know is out of the blue is her brother, her dead brother, and his friends, Juan Diaz, have magically been put into the story and their statements, conflicting, contradicting statements, which don't make any sense because they're lies. Whoever put those statements together clearly didn't see Jay, clearly wasn't the people at the Airbnb. It had to have been the agent of the Airbnb working with the Guardia Civil. They've used Aphilia's dead brother and his friends, put together some statement taken from what Aphilia said originally, split one statement into three because they're doing it just to cover their tracks, to make it look a certain way. Haven't realized that they've just fabricated more lies. They've fabricated more lies to keep them out of trouble. There's something else that they claim they saw Jay with, but Aphilia is going to contradict that in her statement. Mark Williams Thomas is going to tell us right now. Let's listen.
And showed him where the bus stop is. It's very obvious anyway. And she says she then saw him walk off up the hill. Now, if he was going back to where he was staying, Los Cristianos, he would have walked that way. But for some reason, he walks off up the hill. She says that she didn't see him after that. That was it. He was alone. He wasn't carrying anything. And he definitely wasn't with anybody else. Because she says that at that stage, the two black men she believed were inside asleep. I couldn't understand why she knew that with certainty.
Exactly.
But she says that they were inside. And she says she didn't see him again. That's quite interesting.
And that's her job. Her job is meant to cover for Ayub. That's why she's mentioned that. But that's not the point I wanted to make. We'll get back to that. The point I wanted to make is that she said she see him by himself and he was carrying nothing. Now, why is that a big red flag? because in Juan Diaz's statement, he said that Jay approached him with a bottle of Coca-Cola in his hand. So we've got two new statements that have been randomly added, and none of them add up. None of them make any sense because they're lies. They've been added to cover someone else's role within the story, which is Aphilia's, because Aphilia didn't want any involvement in what was going on because she knew how serious it was. And it was another reason why she didn't want Warren and Zach and them lot in the calf. She pulled her chairs in and shut her shutters. Clear as day, ladies and gentlemen. Big, massive cover-up. And Aphilia is involved. She knows she's involved.
Because I have seen reports to suggest that she says she saw him again later, some 20 minutes up the top. She says categorically that's not true. She saw him once walk off, that is it. She didn't see him.
Once he took off, that is it. She never see him again. That is exactly what she's saying to Mark. So how is there another fabrication within the third Spanish witness statement saying Aphilia went to go and collect her insurance policy, and at the viewpoint, she see the same guy that asked her for the bus times?
After that, the Airbnb is currently being taken off, so you can't rent it. I did ask her about the blanket. This is the blanket that Jay has got over him in a Snapchat. And she says that she doesn't recognize it. And the Airbnb, she obviously...
Again, she doesn't recognize it. She doesn't recognize it. How can she say she doesn't recognize it if it's her brother's Airbnb? She's the one that goes in there and cleans up. She's the one that folds the towels and the blankets. She's the one that puts all the covers on the beds. She's the one that puts the spare blankets and covers in the cupboard. But she doesn't recognize that blanket. Again, I'm telling you now, Mark is talking to her at a point where she's realized something nefarious has happened at her Airbnb. So she might know her Airbnb is being used as a trap and they're doing something dodgy from the Airbnb, like drugs, not overly serious in Tenerife when it comes to drugs, not overly serious. So someone like Aphilia could turn a blind eye to her little property being used as a trap yard. But the moment she hears someone's been murked and it's linked to that Airbnb, oh my God, you know what, guys? We're going to have to shut down this operation and I'm going to need to take a step back from whatever I've said.
So after she says she categorically doesn't recognize it. Now, there was a slight translation issue, so I can't be 100% sure that that's what she was saying. But the strong indication is that she said she doesn't recognize it at all.
Doesn't recognize it at all. I take it for what it is, mate. I take it for what it is. See, everyone else, like Lucy, she was able to pick up that Jay was in a hurry from Aphilia. Okay, cool. DTR was able to have a perfect conversation with her to the point where he was praising her and calling her such a lovely woman. So I'm literally taking what Mark said at face value. If Aphilia said she doesn't recognize that blanket, there was nothing missed in translation. She does not recognize that blanket because the blanket belongs to Lucy. The person filming themselves with a blanket and a cigarette showing the white car in the landscape is either two people. It's either Brad or Brandon. But I'm compelled to believe that it is Brandon. The reason for that is because he's the one that mentioned that footage. Lucy also mentions that footage.
But the significance, of course, is that she only sees him once walk off. So does he walk off and then double back on himself and come back? We have had a new piece of information this morning that Lucy has said to Brandon, or Brandon to Lucy, we're not quite sure which way round.
It was Lucy to Brandon, clearly. The reason I say that is because you've got to listen to how Lucy talks about it. She was the one that was involved in fabricating that message with Josh Forshaw about the two knives. And she told Brandon and Ayub about it because it was something she wanted to add to the plan. I think she's the one that introduced the two knife theory.
That when he left this Airbnb, was scared, he took two knives with him. Why would he do that? And is that true?
Exactly. Why would he do that? Is it true? But it's Lucy that's painting that narrative. Jay was scared. Jay took the two knives. And instead of her telling that story, she's getting Josh Forshaw to tell the story for her.
Speaking to a number of the friends and have been told of two significant pieces of information. I now need to speak to Lucy to see if what I am being told is true. Firstly, that on the morning of his disappearance, Jay told his friend that he was on a mission. And secondly, that shortly before he left the rental, he chatted with Josh, a friend he had only recently met, and sent Josh a video of him stood on the doorstep with two knives in his waistband.
Lucy tried to tell Mark that Jay told her he's on a mission. Her claim to him telling her that would have been before Jay was waved out of his face with his t-shirt off, in the footage that we have of them all together. So what mission was Jay on, Lucy? Lucy, again, painting that narrative to make it look like Jay is up to no good. When clearly you can see that based on how Jay is looking and moving, there was no way Jay could have been up to no good whatsoever. But here we have Lucy telling Mark Williams Thomas that Jay, a guy that's not going to be able to defend himself, a guy that's not going to be able to answer any of these questions because you're going to find him dead at the bottom of a cliff. Yeah, I'm going to tell Mark Williams Thomas that Jay was on a mission. He told me he was on a mission. So if you actually think about that, does that actually correlate with what he told Debbie just before he went to NRG Festival that evening? He told her that he wasn't even going to go in that evening. Even Brad backed that up by telling her the same thing, that Jay was going to take it easy that evening because he wanted to spend the rest of his holiday without being hungover. And then all of a sudden, out of all of the friends, Jay's the only one that is so waved out of his face. The next destination is falling asleep in a corner.
The night before, when I was awake, before we'd gone home, and he'd messaged me saying, "Oh, I'm going on a mission."
There you go. She takes herself away from the situation. She basically says Jay told her I'm on a mission before she went home. So she takes herself away from the situation to make it look like she wasn't there. Before I left, Jay told me he was on a mission.
And then I've gone home, tried to find him, blah, blah, then I ended up going home, gone to sleep, woke up to the...
What? Hold on. Bare bloody blahs in there. Them bloody blahs in there mean you're chatting this pure BS. But what does she say in between the bloody blahs? You keep saying bloody blah. What's going on here? Like as if it doesn't mean anything.
The night before, when I was awake, before we'd gone home, and he'd messaged me saying, "Oh, I'm going on a mission, blah, blah." And then I've gone home, tried to find him, blah, blah.
I've gone home, tried to find him, blah, blah. So he's messaged Lucy to say he's on a mission before she went home. Then she tried to look for him before she went home. Blah, blah. When you went and looked for him, where was you looking for him? Why did you need to go and look for him the first time before you went home? At this point, I'm starting to think when she said I went to find him before I went home is in the NRG festival itself.
And then I ended up going home, gone to sleep, woke up to the call of Brandon in the morning. Then, oh my God, he's in the mountains. So I'm like, what? Rang him, blah, blah.
What? Another bloody blah. Hold on. She said she woke up in the morning to a call from Brandon. You told the media that you woke up to a call from Jay.
Tried to find him, blah, blah. Then I ended up going home, gone to sleep, woke up to the call of Brandon in the morning. Then, oh my God, he's in the mountains. So I'm like, what? Rang him, blah, blah.
What? So I got a call from Brandon to say he's in the mountains. Then I called him, blah, blah. Like, it's just bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. You cannot say this and not then be questioned. Mark Williams Thomas is literally just lapping it up like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I'm confused.
That's where you've come from. What can you say? Call of Brandon in the morning. Home, tried to find him, blah, blah. Then I ended up going home, gone to sleep, woke up to the call of Brandon in the morning. Then, oh my God, he's in the mountains. So I'm like, what? Rang him, blah, blah. Obviously, I can't go back there, But then in the meantime...
Oh my God, I can't go back there. So again, she's painting the narrative to make it look like Jay was scared or something. She's done that in the media interview as well. I can't go back there. Jay, if you're going to ever listen to me, then you best listen to me now. Go back to wherever you came from. I can't go back. You mean I can't go back? Okay, stay where you are. I'm coming to you then, my friend. Lucy's the one that's painting the picture to make it look like Jay left the Airbnb scared. Now, she's using unverified information from Josh Forshaw to back up her theory that Jay was moving scared. Now we understand why Mark felt that Jay left the Airbnb fearing for his life. We're going to get to Mark Williams Thomas's theory as well, because that's absolute BS. And I can't believe he said evidence and facts brought him to that conclusion when he misheard what Abe said all along.
Can't go. So he's saying he can't go back to the rental, yeah?
Yeah, but I was just saying to him, go back to where you've come from. What can you see? Like, do you know anything about where you are? Blah, blah.
Do you know anything about where you are? Blah, blah. What are you talking about, Lucy? Why would Jay know anything about where he is? Followed by blah, blah, because you're talking shit. Means every time you said blah, blah throughout this whole conversation, you were talking shit. That blah, blah literally just tells you that you never cared about Jay. How can you be telling a story to a private investigator about your friend going missing and there's more blah, blahs in there then there are actual sentences that make sense? Yeah, I spoke to him on the phone, blah, blah, put the phone down to him, blah, blah, went to go and look for him, went home, blah, blah. Come on, man, what are we talking about here, man? Mark Williams Thomas got played, everyone's getting played. Lucy and Brandon come together as a team. I've always told you that. They've been colliding together, making up this story to keep them all out of jail.
And then, obviously, I didn't know about this straight away. I'd heard snippets about all.
Now she's about to tell us about the two knives, and listen to the first thing she said. Oh, I'm not too sure about this. I've only heard snippets of it. You've heard snippets of it, but you're going to deliver it like you made it up. You're going to deliver it like you're the one that come up with the idea about the two knives. Of course you are, because you were standing at Airbnb, you opened the drawer, you saw the two orange knives, and you thought, guys, I've got a brilliant idea.
But then obviously I've spoke to this Josh, and he's saying that he's come out when he was smoking the cigarette, and he's put the video on his story.
Okay, so when he was smoking a cigarette and he put that video of his story with him wrapped up in the blanket, your blanket, that's when he decided to take a video or a picture of him with 2 knives, which means he must have took the blanket off, threw it on the floor, put 2 knives down his trousers or his shorts, and then took a video or picture of that and sent it over to Josh, not Brad, not Brandon, the person that he was on video calls to all evening in the B&B, walking up the roads. No, I'm not going to send it to him. I want to send it to this random don called Josh, who I met the other day with Lucy. And Lucy is going to tell everyone the story about it after I'm dead. And guess what? Josh ain't even going to be able to verify the video because he never saved it. He didn't send it to Brad. He didn't even tell Brad. He didn't even tell the Spanish police. In fact, he waited until we got back to the UK to tell the UK police about it. And then said, you know what, don't worry, I'll be the only one that will turn up to the inquest. Don't worry, Lucy, don't worry, Brandon, don't worry, Brad, Abe, any of you. You guys don't have to turn up. I've got all of the information. Mr. Josh Forshaw.
The video to this Josh who we'd met on the
What's the video then? So he sent the video over to Josh.
Yeah.
2 kitchen knives out of the Airbnb and put it down his pants, and then lifted his top up and showed it to him. He's like, oh, just in case anything kicks off.
Lifted his top up and showed it to him. So again, Jay would have had to put the blanket down, and as he's videoing himself, as he would have lifted his t-shirt up, he would have filmed the 2 knives down his trousers. So the only problem you have at this point is the blades of those knives are going to be touching Jay's private parts. He's holding his t-shirt, he's holding a phone trying to film the knives, and he's waved out of his face at the same time, ladies and gentlemen. You can imagine how dangerous this is. No, Jay was able to take that video and get it sent over to Josh.
I'm like, do you know what I mean?
No, we don't know what to do. Let's listen to that again because it sounds like you're chatting a bag of BS, Lucy. You're waffling.
So this Josh who we'd met on the plane.
Yeah.
2 kitchen knives out of the Airbnb and put it down his pants, and then lifted his top up and showed it to him. He's like, oh, just in case anything kicks off. I'm like, do you know what I mean?
Right. Do you know what I mean? No, we don't know what you mean. You actually sound like Brad there when Brad said, I just come out of a festival. Literally, you're talking waffle. You don't know what to say, but you're trying to make it look like Jay was doing things that would make one think someone was after him. He was out to protect himself. He was in fear for his life. But why are we painting this narrative? Why is Lucy trying to make it look like Jay felt this way? See, this is all about pointing fingers at Jay, ladies and gentlemen. None of them have an idea on why Jay was feeling this way. In fact, Lucy's the only one, more or less, who describes Jay feeling this way. In fact, when Mark Williams Thomas asked Abe about the 2 knives, you want to hear Abe's response. And that's how you know it was made up by the whole gang. They all made it up. Someone brought it to the attention of all of them and they said, you know what, that's a brilliant idea. Let's do that. When asked about the 2 knives, his first response is, yeah. And then he starts to laugh. He starts to laugh. Does anyone actually listen to Abe's laugh? Because Abe's laughed quite a few times on these live streams. Has anyone really paid attention to his laugh? Because if you've paid attention to Abe's laugh, then you'll know it's not the same laugh that was on the recording of Rocky sleeping in a car. Laughs that in that recording don't resemble Abe's laugh whatsoever. It makes me question that audio altogether. Yeah, Warren said that's he's Jay's voice, but is that he's Jay's voice whilst he was in Tenerife? Or was that he's Jay's voice back in the UK on a night where they were chilling, taking balloons? See, someone close to Jay would have had to have been able to get their hands on that type of audio. So if that audio is fabricated, and I do believe that audio is fabricated, and what I mean is that audio was not recorded in Masca or outside the Airbnb, then the only way Abe would have been able to get his hands on that recording is through Lucy and Brandon, the guys that have been playing us all along.
So he had 2 kitchen knives up his top in a Snapchat to Josh.
Well, from what Josh was saying, but he's not going to lie about it. But
So that's what Josh is saying, but he's not going to lie about it. He's not going to lie about it. Yeah, because I know Josh. Josh is my best friend. Yeah, Josh is a really good pal of mine. I knew Josh from back in the day. Yeah, he only tells the truth. He doesn't lie about things. Yeah, he doesn't lie. Yeah, not Josh, not the guy that I just met on the plane only 2 days ago. Yeah, no, not him. He's not going to lie about it. Definitely not. I wasn't there. Just to let you know, man.
Snapchat to Josh.
well, from what Josh was saying, but he's not going to lie about it. But I've obviously not seen this. He had 2 kitchen knives.
I've obviously not seen this. So you're trying to make us believe in some unverified information.
With apparently orangey yellow handles that he took out of the apartment, down it, like obviously, well, it's shorts.
She has to think there. She has to really, really think there. Glitches kicked in on all of them. Ayub, Lucy, Brandon. They've all had to take several seconds to really think about something so simple that it should flow off the tip of your tongue. But no, these guys have had to take several seconds to really think about what they're going to say next. You know Jay was wearing shorts. We all know Jay was wearing shorts. But you got one guy saying jeans. You got Josh saying trousers. And Lucy nearly slipped up there. She had to really catch herself and say, glitch. Oh, yeah, shorts. Yeah, he's wearing shorts.
Shorts and with his t-shirt over.
Apartment where he was with the black guys, or his own apartment?
Yeah.
The B&B, right.
Well,
so he took the knives from the B&B.
Yeah, so this is what I'm saying. It could all just be a coincidence, yeah, but I just think I'm going on a mission.
Josh said,
You see that. It could just all be a coincidence, but I think with Jay sending me a message saying going on a mission is Lucy basically making it look like Jay was up to no good. We're going to leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. We're still not done. Got so much more to get through in regards to this podcast, so make sure you don't go anywhere. But what I need from you right now, ladies and gentlemen, is to leave all of your thoughts and opinions down below. I need to know exactly what you guys are thinking after that one. Make sure you hit the like button. Do subscribe to the channel if you are newly watching. Turn your notification bells on so you don't miss out on part 5. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.